Well, hello, this is going to be a bit of a different video than I'm used to making. So, this is going to be kind of similar in concept to the functionality tests I like to do, but instead of doing like a, proper functionality test where, I show you the bot and the test box, I decided to do something a little different. I am going to show the bot in the test box, but I'm also going to provide a little bit of background to the creation of the bot, how the idea of this bot came about in the first place, and then I'm going to show you the evolution of the bot as well, from its early stages to how it ended up being now. So, and this bot, of course, is Scoot, which you probably saw. So Scoot is my second ever gyro walker after Crawler, and well, this one was much more of a process to make than Crawler. Crawler, I managed to get moving on my first try. However, if you've seen the video with Crawler or you've used Crawler yourself, you know that it is very uncontrollable, right? It can move, but you can't really control where it moves. So the idea with Scoot was to make a more controllable rather, gyro walker. It's kind of hard to make a gyro walker particularly controllable, but that's what I was going for. So the idea for this bot originally came from an idea. I was in a call with two members of the Battle RC Discord server, Altef23 and Danny0. Apologies if I mispronounce your names, but I was in a call with them and they mentioned the idea for a different style of gyro walker, because they had done a fight with the stock bot Twister, and they had noticed when Twister was on its back and its drum was off balance, it was moving along the floor. It was basically moving enough so it wouldn't get counted out, and they presented that idea to me, and since I'm the one who makes wacky walker designs, I decided to take it up and start working on it. So of course I need to figure out how that happened first of all. So my earliest test versions, I didn't realize that the weapon had to be off balance yet. So, well, that's not particularly true. The weapons were off balance, but they weren't off balance enough to cause enough vibrations to move. Essentially, Scoot moves by an off balance weapon, causing the bot to shake and move in the direction I want it to. Now, eventually I'll explain how turning works, but we're not quite there yet. We're still looking at Scoot Mark 1, which cannot turn. So my original idea was to just have a bot that could just move forward effectively, and that's what I was going for with the earliest test versions. I was trying to figure out how off balance the weapon needed to be to move, as well as how fast the bot can move, and if it was reasonable for me to put a weapon on, and what was the best technique and the best design choice to make the bot move forward. And I eventually realized, after doing several tests, that the best way to make a bot move in a particular direction was to have the whole body of the bot leaning in a particular direction. Usually I made a little block at the bottom of the bot that would make the bot lean in the direction I wanted it to move. So as soon as I turn the giant off balance drum on, then the bot will scoot in that direction. So once I realized that in the test version, I decided to make the full version of the bot, and I made two versions of the full bot. One of which having no weapons, kind of like a exhibition bot, and the other version has a weapon, which is actually meant to be more quote-unquote usable, right? So I posted these versions and I was happy with it. However, I did receive some comments on my original post to the Battle RC server. I never posted on the Steam Workshop yet. I really need to get on that, but anyway. I received some comments that it was feasible to make the bot move, and something I didn't mention, not move, turn. It could move, but turn. Because with the earlier test versions, I wanted to try to make it turn, but I eventually decided I should focus on one thing at a time and just focus on making it move forward, which is what I ended up doing, what I ended up making. So I had two different ideas for how to make the bot turn. One using a 2-drum design and one using a 3-drum design. I ended up deciding to try the 3-drum design first, since that seemed more feasible to me. And On my first test version with the 3-drum design, the bot could move. However, the movement was not enough to move the bot enough to not get counted out by the game's rules. And that was a problem I constantly faced with the 3-drum version of Scoot, because I don't know exactly how this game's weight system works with weapons, but I can only assume the larger the surface area of the weapon, the heavier the game considers it, and the more force it's considered to have. The original version of Scoot has one massive drum, which allows it to move enough. It allows the vibration to be big enough for it to move. However, I originally used the same size bot, but split the original 1 drum into 3 drums, which I assume caused each drum to have less force. I mean, the bot could turn, it could move, but it couldn't move enough. So I ended up deciding to redesign the bot. I ended up taking the original design and flipped it on its side, because I noticed when the bot got flipped on its side, it could move better for some reason. So I ended up doing that, and after a few more refinements, I ended up coming out with what I thought would be the final version of Scoot Mark II. I was happy with the design. However, one problem came up immediately, is that the toggle arms I originally wanted to have be hammers, they didn't work. Every time I fired the hammers would just get stuck and they wouldn't retract. So I tried to fix that, but I really couldn't figure out how to. So I just ultimately changed them to be hold weapons, which is fine. I mean, they didn't do damage anymore, but I was fine with, since it still looked good visually, and plus I knew this wasn't going to be the most competitive bot anyway, so I was happy with it. But then I put this version into the arena, and it couldn't move enough to avoid the countout, unless I fired the hammers. So after I saw this, I realized I couldn't in good conscience post this version that couldn't avoid a countout without firing its weapon. So I did another full redesign. I made the body much wider in design, and so each drum could be bigger in surface area and therefore have more force through the bot, which ultimately ended up being the way to go. On one of my earlier test attempts, I ended up making a bot that could move. However, something I didn't mention so far that's probably important to mention is that the bot has like little wheels, like fake wheels on the bottom that can't, that aren't fast or strong enough to move the bot. I tried to make a version where the wheels weren't touching the ground. However, this game does have a little quirk where if your bot's wheels aren't touching the ground, every time the bot fires up its weapon or moves, the bot will take an immense amount of damage, which I forgot about. And the wheels hinder the gyro walker movement. I don't know exactly why, but when the wheels are touching the ground, the movement is movement is a lot slower, which means I just had to make the drums very very forceful. I'm sorry, I have a bit of a cold right now, so I sound a little weird if I'm coughing a little bit. That's why. I just wanted to record this video now. I should have recorded it a few days ago when I didn't have a cold, but it's fine. But as I was saying, I needed to make a bot that had enough drum force to counteract the fact that the wheels were touching the ground, and make it so that the bot could avoid a countout on its own merits without having to fire another weapon. And like I said, I got that actually pretty quickly with the more wide design on one of my earlier tests. So I ultimately tried scaling that up to the proper design. Added decorations, added a real weapon. My original idea was to add a ring spinner just like the original design, but more wider design made that a lot more awkward to accommodate, so I just ended up going with a more traditional horizontal bar spinner, which, you know, I'm fine with. I still think it looks pretty decent. It's still pretty powerful too if it can get the right angle. And that's how we got the Scoot Mark II. You're probably seeing footage of it in the test arena right now, which, you know, I'm so happy I got this bot to work, because for a while I didn't think I was going to, because the process was such a pain at times. I probably went through about 15 to 16 test versions in total, I want to say. I don't have the exact number. I went through a failed Mark II, and I ultimately, Scoot Mark II ended up coming out of it. And, well, I mean, out of all of the walkers I made, it is, I mean, Stickbug probably still is the most controllable, but out of the two gyro walkers, this is by far an improvement when it comes to movement and controllability. Because although the turning is very slow, which, you know, is expected from a design like this, it is still, you can still control it. It still turns at a reasonable enough speed. It moves forward at a reasonable enough speed. The weapon power is strong enough. It could theoretically pick up a win, right? Maybe it will never pick up a win, probably not, but, you know, in theory, it is a more competitive in air quotes. Imagine, you can't say me, but imagine air quotes, competitive gyro walker design. And honestly, that's probably where I'm going to leave it. Scoot and Scoot Mark II should be up on the Battle RC server and the Steam Workshop by the time this video goes up, and I hope y'all enjoy them. And if you want me to post any of the test versions for some reason, I don't know why you would, but if you want me to, just let me know. And yeah, that'll be about all. So thank you all for watching. This is a bit of a shorter video than what I usually do, but thank you all for watching, and see y'all another time.